So, as with everything in Nigeria, it looks as if the attempts to raise a fresh constitution, which the eminent group known as the Patriots called for during a meeting with President Tinubu last Friday, will be messy. I mean, it's hardly an auspicious start when a request for a new constitution is already being assailed by interests that are ethnic, regional, and political, and questions are being asked about whether the Nigerian public, which is clearly disenchanted with politics in this country, really needs or cares for a new constitution. That Nigeria needs a transformation is not in doubt. The promise of independence in the 1960s and the post-Civil War economic miracle in the 1970s that made Nigeria the regional and continental power has been superseded by decades of rot, decline, and spiraling debt, as well as growing alarm about deepening corruption, collapsing infrastructure, and desperately weak institutions. And there are new levels of danger from worsening insecurity and deeply insensitive politicians who seem to care not a jot for the lot of their people. Clearly, Nigeria needs a political as well as an economic reboot to thrive in the 21st century. Will it get that reboot? Well, for his take on this, I'm joined now on the line from Kaduna by the PDP chieftain, who was recently turbaned royal warrior of Bauchi State, Dr. Ladan Salihu, who is also a political analyst, journalist, and former Director General of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Dr. Salihu, great to see you again, and thank you very much indeed for joining us. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. But from the perspective of the North in this country and the problems that bedevil that region, do you believe that a fresh, more people-oriented constitution will benefit the region?
Well, thank you for having me, Charles. First of all, let me say it without any equivocation that the country, like you did say in your, opening, presentation, we do not only need a reboot, we need to press the reset button to recalibrate the way and manner we operate as a nation, to recalibrate the process of government and governance, to reboot the entire political system, to rejig the character and content of not only politics but politicians and government and governance and the interrelationships between all of this. It would appear that with the best of intentions, the Patriots met, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with their demands. And right now, I would not be saying that I'm going to speak on behalf of the North, but I'm going to give a perspective that I believe probably will resonate with the general feeling of Northerners. And that is to say that with the best of intentions, the Patriots are out there. First of all, when Chief Emeka Anyaoku, the former Commonwealth Secretary General, an exemplary statesman, an accomplished diplomat, and someone that has a global respect. And in Nigeria, we adore him, we respect him, and we recognize and respect his words. This time around, there are issues that I have with his presentation. When he first said that the Constitution is illegitimate, and then he went on to say that, we are a diverse country and a pluralistic nation, which is true. So one would have expected to see in the complexion, in the making of the Patriots, that diversity he is talking about. When Chief Rotimi Williams of blessed memory founded the Patriots, and the baton is now handed over to Chief Emeka Anyoku, one would have expected that they would have reached out. They would have reached out to the northern part of the country. We have elders, we have statesmen, we have our leaders, we have opinion leaders and statesmen of repute. They are around. One would have expected to see some of these notable northern Nigerians within the rank and file of the Patriots. So it would appear to me that they went with a sectional voice that is ab initio short-circuited in terms of the definition of patriotism and nationhood. I am not, the other aspect that I want to say is that, excuse me, the approach of the Patriots is coming at a time when this part of the country, the northern part of the country, is immersed in almost atrocious, if not atrocious, conflict of a sort. We are bedeviled by banditry. We are bedeviled by kidnapping, cattle rustling, and people are dying left, right, and center. We need to recover from all these vices that have really emasculated the growth and the economy of the North. So when you are talking to Northerners now about changing the Constitution, about bringing another system, it would appear to the rest of us in the North that you are either oblivious of what our state of our predicament is, or you are setting it aside, or you're not particularly worried that we are actually in dire straits.
Right.
Even if you were to implement these issues, how does the North conduct a referendum? You can't conduct a referendum in, say, Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, Niger, Kaduna, and the Northeast. So I want to believe that the Patriots need to go back, not necessarily to the drawing board, because that would sound a bit disingenuous, but they need to spread their tentacles across the national canvas. They need to do a lot of consultations. They need to deepen stakeholding and win people over with their vision and mission, and win people over with, sensitization, because they are people of credibility. They won't have any problem reaching out to the North.
I think we've got the, and thank you for that opening assessment, which, like all things that you normally get into, was very thorough there. Just to understand this very clearly, you're saying that the North does not oppose any moves to uplift this country, even if that upliftment is on the foundations of a new constitution. But the issue that you have is that the timing is wrong, and that the main priority for the North at the moment, beyond the fact that they don't appear to have been consulted when the Patriots went to see the president, the main priority right now are things like security, the cost of living crisis, etc. And that you, to some extent, would agree with the president when he says that his main focus is along those lines of economy, security, and so on, and that when he gets that sorted, he would then look at the issue of the Constitution. Is that a fair assessment of what you said?
I think it's a reasonably fair assessment. Now, I want to believe that when you look at the character of our country, when you look at the diversity and the plurality and the, the competing elements, right now we have a lot of hot rods on fire. Hunger, starvation, deprivation, and the issues of insecurity, which, have been said over and over again. Now, a constitution that is operating now, that has brought the structure of government and governance that we have, the presidential constitution, is to my mind a legitimate constitution. It has midwifed, 25 years or thereabout of uninterrupted democracy and even more. So to call it legitimate is a bit strong. I mean, illegitimate is a bit strong. I would have wanted to see a situation in which all Nigerians are brought on board and then discussed holistically, comprehensively. And for instance, as a political analyst, this constitution that brought about the president that we have, the National Assembly that we have, and all the structures that obtain. From the onset, you will discover that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the presidency with 37% of the votes. One would have wished that we had a constitution in which, like for instance, what obtains in South Africa, where the president must win at least 52% of the votes before he becomes, legitimately elected. But the constitution we have is the constitution we have. It's legitimate, and I want to insist on that. I would have loved to see a situation in which, if we want to change the constitution, bring about such changes in a manner that will make our own system similar to what obtains in South Africa, where you have the leader of the party in parliament becoming a president, so you eliminate the rancorous, almost atrocious campaigns of, the presidency in politics. And then if he gets to that threshold of 50+%, then he becomes a president. Otherwise, he forms a coalition. Right now, you have a president sitting in the villa with 37% of the votes. He has all the ministers. He has all the chairmen of boards and parastatals. He has all the structure of government within those 37% population. The 63% population are excluded from governance. And for a country of 250 million people, this is unacceptable. But then, the founding fathers of the present constitution did not probably work hard to envisage these kind of difficulties. But you cannot then say the system is illegitimate. No, it is a legitimate constitution. But I want to see a situation in which it is reformed in a manner that the people decide. So, what am I saying, Charles? I would have expected that the Patriots will conduct town hall meetings across the 6 geopolitical zones to gauge the temperature of the country, to appreciate the constraints, the limitations, and the challenges of governance, to listen to the people on ground, come up with a document, even if it is just a synopsis, before going to the president. You got to a president that has, a burning issues in a country that is under intense pressure of all the issues that have been discussed. I mean,
well,
to me,
I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt you, Dr. Salihu. I do apologize for that. But if you looked quite forensically at what took place at that meeting between the Patriots and the presidency, the president, what they were saying basically is pretty much what you're saying, that they're asking the president to put together a constituent assembly. It's not for them as patriots to, go around the country sort of sampling opinion. It's not their job to do that. They're simply telling the president, reminding the president that this country needs a new, more representative constitution. It would then be up to the president to organize those. He's got the capacity to do that, to organize those consultations across the country. The Patriots were also talking about a constituent assembly, which would obviously be representative of all the peoples of this country. They're simply being the agent provocateurs, trying to get the president to get a move on, because they're saying that the longer you delay this constitution, the change, the more damage we do to this country, and the more we delay proper unity, proper representation, proper participation of people in the democracy of this country. So, you sound like you're also having issues with the messenger rather than the message. You talked about the fact that they didn't, you didn't sort of see any northerners within the sort of the group that went to see the president and so on. But does that water down the strength of their message? I'm trying to understand whether this, just the fact that they took a message to the president, ought to be a divisive issue, or whether the focus should be on the message that they've taken to the president.
I think, to put it in a nutshell, Charles, I want to say it with emphasis that the North is trying to be railroaded or even stampeded into endorsing, a move by the Patriots which is half-hearted, which is half-house. And the Patriots are wise men. They are people of wisdom. They stepped in at a time when the nation is on a political cliffhanger, if so to say.
Let me just say this again. I do apologize. I do apologize. I'll let you speak in a minute. I was just reminded that Shehu Sani was there with the Patriots at that meeting. He's clearly a northerner. I think he's from Kaduna, where you are right now. So, and at least that's one very notable northerner who was there.
You see, I have a tremendous respect for Shehu Sani. He's a patriot. He's someone that has Nigeria, in his hearts. His presence as a northerner does not in any way speaks about the larger representation of the North. One would have expected that apart from Shehu Sani, you will see other notable northern Nigerians. And so it is not particularly representative.
He wasn't the only one who was there.
Shehu Sani himself,
he wasn't the only one who was there.
Raise his finger and say, all right. Okay, now let me say this, Charles. The North is not particularly averse to any group going to the president or the presidency and presenting their own case for reform, for constitutional reform or whatever. What I want to emphasize is that it has to have the larger understanding, the appreciation of the sensibility, the sensitivity of the people of the North across the 19 northern states. And in doing so, to, like I said earlier, deepen stakeholding, consult with people across the board. Look, for crying out loud, Chief Emeka Anyoku was literally employed into the foreign or diplomatic service, and I stand to be corrected, by Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. And he is a northerner, but he saw in him as an Igbo person that has quality and he can deliver. So I am talking about that kind of mindset. Now for the same person to go across his own contemporaries in the north, and he knows them, then it will be seen to be broad-based. Then it will be seen to be comprehensive. It will be seen to be all-encompassing, and therefore the North will not have any problem with it. The North will not be stampeded or railroaded into endorsing any group that goes to the presidency in a manner that we are not convinced that, he's carrying, our voice alone. That's all I'm saying. But nobody is afraid of any constitutional change in northern Nigeria, I can assure you. For as long as we remain on the same page as Nigerians, the North will be in it 100%. But the situation in which, we do not feel convinced that it is all-encompassing enough. The word here is the key word, enough, that puts the North on board. It's a bit uncomfortable. I want to believe that our own issues right now, empirical, biting, touching, issues of hunger, starvation, curbing insecurity, and banditry and kidnapping, and all of that. Look, we are on our knees. It is as if sitting as a northerner, Charles. I'm living in a country like Nigeria is one country, two systems. You go to Sokoto, you go to Zamfara, you go to Maiduguri, you go to Yobe, and you go to Kebbi, and you go to Lagos and Ibadan and Port Harcourt. You see, in one country, two diametrically opposed ways of living. And what we are saying is that in the North, we need to catch our breath. We need to have these problems resolved. When we resolve these problems, then you can bring it on. The Patriots or anybody can bring it on. We discuss and we move on. Right now, I want to appreciate the fact that the Patriots have done whatever it is they did with the best of intentions and in good faith. But it is not particularly the number one item on the agenda of the North. And like Mr. President said, he needs to tackle these biting issues that we talked about. Charles, as we speak, 34%, 34% inflation, 40% on food inflation. People are literally, 25% of the arable lands, cultivable lands in the northern states of Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Kaduna, and Niger. Only 25% of the land is under cultivation. People are not on the farms because of insecurity. And then you go to the northeast. We've not yet solved the issue of Boko Haram. So when you're talking to us about constitutional change at this point, it would appear like you are setting aside all these, challenging problems that we have as a people. And I'm saying empathize with us, reason with us, rise and appreciate our own dire straits and the problems that we have. And you talked about the protest, Charles. The Nigerian youths, the Nigerian nation, all our peoples across the board, they are sending messages to the political establishment. The political establishment, the federal government, all politicians, and everyone that is in the art and craft of governance, that we must sit up and listen to the yearnings and aspirations of our people. We must not take them for granted. We must not think that we sit in our own comfort zones to speak to them as if they are they are unoblivious of the challenges that they are facing. No, Nigerians need not necessarily a change of constitution. No, but a change of approach to governance, a change of approach to the ways and in which we live and govern our people. We need to carry the people along. I would have expected that the Patriots should go down to the public, make a synthesis of their findings before coming to the president to say, here, Mr. President, this is what we have, coming from the people, not necessarily something from their libraries and from their thinking corners in their comfort zones.
Well, I mean, to be entirely fair, although I think you've made a very interesting, very sound presentation there, but to be entirely fair, this issue of restructuring and a new constitution has been going on for a while, and each government simply kicks it down the road, and that is essentially what the Patriots were trying to remind the presidency of. But I want to thank you very much indeed, Dr. Salihu, for joining us this evening. He is, of course, a political analyst, journalist, former Director General of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, PDP chieftain, and recently turbaned royal warrior of Bauchi State. And he was talking to me on the line from Kaduna. Thank you very much indeed.